Hello everybody, Steve Beecham here. Welcome to another installment of an interview with a local rock star. So today I have my buddy Mark Buelow with me, and as far as I'm concerned, Mark's the rock star when it comes to especially major remodeling stuff. So we have a lot of people that are in our town that are doing a lot of remodeling. We've got people buying homes and around Roswell and Alpharetta, and they're redoing them. We've got some folks doing that down in Buckhead and Sandy Springs. We have a lot of young millennials that are thinking about buying a house and trying to decide what they should and shouldn't do when it comes to remodeling. So I wanted Mark to come in and talk to me about it. He's qualified. He's past president of NARI, which is the National Association of Remodeling something, and he's been in Atlanta chapter president, so he knows a lot of people in the industry, knows a lot about the industry. So thank you, Mark, for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So my first question is when somebody calls you and they're thinking about remodeling, what's the first couple of things that they think that they need to do? What do they start talking about at the beginning?
Well, so most people, renovations involve kitchens, baths. Those are the primary areas that folks are looking to update a house. I mean, if you walk into a bedroom, it doesn't necessarily look like it's outdated if it was built in 1950 or 60. I mean, the sizes are the same, but the kitchen and the bathroom, that's what dates the house. So that's really
what they see.
That's what they want to see, and they want to update with the latest trends and styles and that sort of thing. So
almost all the stuff that you do, you redo the bathrooms and the kitchen.
Right, like the project we're standing here on today, this is a whole house renovation. They added a porch and did some other things, but the primary driver fundamentally was the kitchen, and all the bathrooms are updated. So the whole main floor, was brought up from 1980 up to the current standard. So
how many people are actually just tearing out the whole kitchen and putting everything brand new versus maybe trying to save stuff that's in the kitchen?
Well, for us in our business, that's typically what we do. So the newer cabinets have better slides and pullouts, and just the way they lay out the kitchen is much more efficient than when it was done in 1980 or 60 or whatever. So I generally go that path. Some people do
with a new one,
with all new, just tear it out.
Appliances,
appliances all new as well. So some people do a reface or a repaint or whatever. We do that occasionally, but most of it's full tear out and redo.
So if they're doing the reface or whatever, they're probably maybe doing some of it themselves and that kind of stuff. So it's a lower. It's a lower
cost thing and maybe a budgeting thing. The kitchen maybe not that old. It's stained cabinets, so they want the painted finish. So, some of that works if the layout and whatnot works. But even in those cases, we're tearing out the island and giving them a bigger island, all one level, enough for seating for 3 or 4, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So that's what they're going at.
So the average person that's doing a pretty extensive remodel, what are they spending on a new kitchen?
Well, I mean, appliance budgets can range from $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 up to $25,000 or $30,000. So that's a big differentiator there, plus the size and how much things are moving. So a kitchen can go from 50 to 60 up to 150. I mean, there's a wide range depending on what they're doing.
And so then you get in that discussion with the customer as to, hey, what kind of countertops or what grade of cabinetry and all that. How does that usually work with the customer, with them to decide what grade point they want? In other words, is how long they're going to live in the house play into it, or what are some of the things that make them spend $100,000 instead of $50,000?
Well, certain clients come with certain expectations as for whether it's inset cabinets, full overlay, some of those details, and so depending on what those specifications are, then we're going to drive them to either a full-on custom or a semi-custom line. But within either one of those lines, you can migrate both directions as far as cost goes. So really, once you get down to the details and they figure out what they want, then that kind of sets the price on the cabinetry component anyways.
Okay, so now about the bathrooms. Tell me about the bathrooms. What are people usually doing in a bathroom? Are they?
Well, so two things. Number one, the master bathroom, bigger shower, maybe the tub if they got space, the standalone tub, better storage, all, new tile, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. One main trend that I'm seeing, particularly in these secondary bathrooms, is, and the realtors may not agree necessarily, but literally in 80% of these secondary bathrooms, we're tearing out the tubs and putting in showers. Because, they're only infants for so long, right? And the kids need a shower, so I mean, that is over
It
the
makes
last,
sense to me.
over the last 5-6 years, it's all showers in these secondary bathrooms.
But are people still having a tub somewhere else in the house? Maybe in the master
I
or
mean,
something?
it ranges. I mean, I've got these $1 million plus tap houses, and they do not have a tub in the house except for the master bathroom. So it all depends on what their priorities are.
So what about basement stuff? So who's doing a basement? How do you decide to do a basement? When do you do a basement? What grade of level of quality finish do you do a basement?
Well, I mean, either people are going to go to create their own unique space within a basement, whether it's an Irish pub or something real cool like that, man cave, or they're just going to go to match the main floor, which is a little more conservative route, but so it just depends. Most of the basements we do are completely unfinished. Sometimes we're refurbishing, getting rid of the drop ceiling and making all those changes, but again, it's just personal preference and seeing
How do you tell somebody about what a basement redo is going to cost?
Well, I mean, there's the price per square foot again can range. I mean, it can be $40, $50 a square foot. It can go up to $100. I mean, it's just, if you're spending $50,000 on a bar, it's going to raise the price per square foot.
Average basement, somebody finishing out, just average stuff. Where the people spending roughly around $50K, maybe $75K for a basement?
Well, I mean, some of these basements are big, so I mean, it's usually in that 50 to 65 range.
Okay.
That's HVAC, drywall, framing changes, bathroom, the whole program.
So $200K gets your basement finished, gets you a new kitchen and some new bathrooms, right?
That's right.
And you really haven't done anything else.
That's right.
All right. So then, what are you seeing as far as what people want to do with the exterior of their house? Are they changing the exterior that much? Are they adding porches or taking porches off? What are they doing?
Well, front porches are real popular. I mean, they're looking to do kind of like we did here, is just create a traditional front porch. There's portico ideas because they want to keep some weather off the front door. And then there's other clients, which we don't do a lot of it, but the window and replace all the siding with hardy and that sort of thing.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you get in discussion with people about that you feel like you kind of need to educate them on that they're not normally thinking about?
Well, budget's probably the first thing, right?
Okay.
So they all watch the TV shows, the HGTV.
Is that stuff, those prices real?
No, typically it's not. So it's typically they're much lower than the real life prices are. So getting people to understand where their realistic budget range is going to be. I mean, I believe in setting a realistic expectation, and then we can dial it down or whatever from there. But most people don't come to the table with. They're looking for a Cadillac. They come there with a Chevrolet or less budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so Mark, I want to ask you. I run into this a lot in the mortgage business. Somebody's got a house for sale, and a lot of times they're what I would call dated homes. They're 20 years, 30, 40 years old, and they're trying to make the decision: do I do some updating or do I not do updating? How would you counsel them on that?
Well, I think you have to have the home at least presentable enough where the paint's generally clean and new and that sort of thing. I think you got to do those bare minimum type deals. If you go on to a full renovation like this, a major renovation, I don't think you're going to see the return on investment immediately that you need in order to do that sort of thing. So I would spruce it up, sell it, and then move on.
Okay, so do you think if somebody had a house, like I've got some friends that have some like 60, 70 ranch houses, one of the things is, do I come in here and put $20,000 in the kitchen or whatever, or take out all this pink tile and stuff and redo all of that? Because I know that a lot of the millennials are having a tough time because they don't have any extra cash to go do that after the sale. So how would you counsel somebody, if you went and did this, not only is it going to make the house look more presentable, but you're also going to get your money back. So where are those areas? How would you do that?
Well, I mean, the 1960s home, then you got to, where is it geographically? Is it in a place where it's a potential tear down? So you've got some other factors that go into it. So,
because somebody might buy it and just bulldoze it.
That's right. So you certainly don't want to put money into something that's got a potential to get torn down. But if it's not a tear down, then maybe the bathrooms, you need to do some tile and some countertops and give it sort of the lipstick on a pig sort of thing. Get it to the point where it looks like, wow, they did some things. The stained cabinets are now painted, and those are good things to do.
So can you paint stained cabinets?
Yes, you can.
How do you do that?
Well, they would sand it and prime it and paint it, assuming it's all real wood.
Take the gloss off of it?
That's right. That's right.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. So if you've got somebody that's potentially going to sell a house, and there's maybe going to be baby boomers that are going to buy that house, and they're going to do, they're going to blow it up, and they're going to do some stuff. Would you spend the money on sprucing it up so that it looks good to sell, or would you just not spend that money at all? How important do you think that is?
I mean, if you think you're in a market where you do have a baby boomer that's got money to put into it versus a millennial who does not.
Like downtown Alpharetta or something, a lot of people are selling their houses in the big golf subdivisions, and they're coming downtown.
Right. So, I mean, those, I think, first of all, a lot of buyers are just attracted to the big house. Yeah. Right. So if it's got a big kitchen, even if it's a little bit out of date, they don't really know the difference, right? So you got to be careful how far you go if you have a pretty good footprint. Then it comes back to that, let's just do the paint, let's do some sprucing up, maybe it's countertops.
So paint's probably a good thing to spend the money on regardless of what you think might happen. You can at least make it look fresh.
Yes. Paint is probably a minimal thing to do.
What about landscaping?
Well, I mean, it all depends on where it's at. I mean, if it's horrible, then yeah, you're going to have to do something. If it's in pretty good shape, then get it cleaned up and
let it go.
Let it go, yep.
Okay. Then what about when somebody's thinking about doing that, and you're saying that one of the issues is they really need to get realistic about their budget? How do you do that with people? What's the best way to do that?
Well, I think most people have to go through the process. They have to talk to a few people. And just what are they hearing? It's like when you go buy a car and the Cadillac costs you X, and they're like, oh, okay, well then I need to either adjust my expectations on the scope and go down to a Chevrolet or whatever. Most people just don't have any idea. So it's that initial piece of what am I going to spend here? I got no idea.
Do you sit down with them and kind of go through that?
We do, and I'll do an initial proposal that kind of outlines what their high-level goals are, and then they'll either say, okay, that works, or they'll pare it down and look for an alternative along those lines.
So much like a real estate agent would sit down with somebody and say, how many bedrooms and baths do you want? Try to get the parameters. You would do the same thing.
That's
You'd
right.
sit down and kind of get the parameters, then come back and give them a cost, and then you can adjust up or down from there.
Right. Because I find most people go through that. There's phases of the buying decision, if you will. If you're a remodeling customer, it's step one is the wow factor, what's the budget need to be, and then they move into number two. That's where they've accepted the budget, and now they're just trying to figure out who they want to work with.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So that's how that process.
So where you get most of your work in North Atlanta? Where do you see where people are really doing extensive remodeling work on their homes? What parts of town?
Well, my office is in Roswell, so I try to keep a circumference around that office or that location. The closer the better. So we do a lot in Roswell, Alpharetta, Milton, East Cobb, Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, Buckhead.
So is it the 70s golf course communities, or is it the stuff around Canton Street and downtown, the 60s ranches?
Yeah, most of them are in neighborhoods, standalone type spaces. Those are the types of homes we're working on. I mean, obviously the markets are all different. Alpharetta has a different stock of home. Roswell has a different stock of home. You get down into Sandy Springs and Dunwoody, those houses are older. So, it's really just each market's a little bit different. Even downtown Atlanta is totally different so it just all depends on where they're at.
Okay. And then if somebody wants to do a project on their own, how do they go find subcontractors? How would you?
Well, our model is it's a guided tour. So they come to us and we do the design, coordinate all the details. We do the construction, permitting. So it's all they have to do with us is help them make decisions, if you will, right? And then option two, which we don't do at all, is clients are hiring their own subs, which can be a hugely laborious project. You got to meet with 2 or 3 plumbers. You got to meet with 2 or 3 electricians. I mean, if you have endless time on your hands and you don't want professional guidance, that works too. But I mean, that's all. There's all kinds, and it works for everybody. So you just got to figure out which way you want to go.
Okay. So Mark, if somebody comes into your office and they want to see some of that stuff, how it looks, what do you do to show them that visually? How do you do that?
Well, my clients, they go into a design and planning phase, and that's where we engage outside architects and resources to create a big picture plan which there'll be electronic renderings and this sort of thing, floor plans. And then after that, then once we have the floor plan set, then we get into details. So it's tile design, it's cabinet design, it's, you know, looking at cabinet styles, countertops, and the designers help them coordinate all that stuff. So
Do they have like a 3D thing, like, you know, you see on television? They're like, you know, this is what it looks like now. We're going to put this here and do that there. Can they see that at your place? Will they be able to see that kind of stuff?
well, we create those types of images, but it's electronic, so it's visual on the computer. So it's, you know, whether it be color or black and white, or whatever. So
you can get a feel for it.
that's right. That's right.
Okay.
I mean, they really have to see it. They've got to understand, and it's a part of the approval process. Is, you know, the bedroom's this big, the bathroom's this big, the shower's this big. So, you know, we really got to make sure that we stress those details and understand what they're getting before we build it.
Right. I want to thank Mark Buelow with Distinctive Remodeling. He's located in Roswell. Thanks for being here today with us, Mark. If you ever need a good remodeling contractor, he's the guy that I use. I hope you give him a call. Thank you for being with us for another section of interview with local rock star.